Hey everyone, how are you? Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes for people to join in. Um, wow, what a day! What a day already. All right, guys. They're saying that a coroner has been called to the site where items that have been confirmed to belong to Brian Laundrie have been found. What this means, we don't know. Um, I'm trying to find I'm trying to find the live stream to where this is being played. So if I'm kind of quiet for a moment, just please realize I am pulling things up. Hey, Search and Rescue K9 Mom, how are you, sweetheart? How's your training going this week? I was going to text you today, kind of give you time to get out of training. Um, guys, I'm kind of upset over this because if these are his remains, Gabby's parents are not going to get answers. They're not going to know why. He's not going to be able to talk to them and tell them why. Hey, Capri girl, I saw that you were in Jay's, Capri, and I didn't want to take you away from Jay. If Jay needs you, I completely understand, Capri. I was just opening up the chat over here for people who like smaller settings. So if you need to be with Jay, I completely understand, girl. Don't think that you have to leave Jay and come here or anything. I don't want that at all. There's been enough heartache today. Thank you, Capri. I appreciate that so much. Guys, please remember that no matter what happens today, just please remember whatever happens today, um, there's a potential that Brian Laundrie's parents have lost their son. I'm trying to find the live stream. Yeah, the medical examiner has been called there. His mom and dad are at the site. Okay, I found it, guys. Okay, I'm going to play this. Okay, as soon as I can get it shared.
Yesterday in particular, I remember going through. I make the rounds as far as just seeing what people are saying on the Gabby Petito subreddit. I make the rounds. I check in with my friends over at the Discord. Gabby, I try to be, uh, you know, WFLA now as far as just how we bring in your comments on social media and how we pay very close attention to what people are saying on social media. That's not exclusive to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or YouTube. We want to comb through all of them. And there's really 7 platforms. I know it sounds crazy, but I do try to make the rounds on these 7 platforms. Let's see if I can remember them. It's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Discord, Reddit, and TikTok. Those are the 7. And I'm always checking to see what people are saying and what the chatter is like out there. And also too, it helps me. I'm more informed of a digital anchor if I can address some of the questions that are out there. If people are asking things, I want to be able to talk about them on our stream. Our stream is more valuable to you if I'm more knowledgeable as to what you're saying out there. And I make these rounds, and more than at any point, I would say that yesterday, when they reopened the Carlton Reserve and this area was reopened to the public, there was just this overwhelming sense of, are we ever going to find Brian? Is Brian ever going to be found? Is this it? Is this the end of of the hope that we have been holding on to for so long, that Brian Laundrie was going to be found and that there was going to be justice for Gabby Petito again? Now that's based on, again, Brian Laundrie is the sole person of interest. He's not a suspect in her
Guys,
homicide
please
as we know it
remember
here
to
publicly from the FBI. He is a person of interest, and yes, he's wanted on the federal arrest warrant for using the credit card, or the debit card. We get that, but there have just been so many people that have been chiming in, Masa, across social media platforms, really losing hope, especially over the last 36 hours. I've noted it, and here we are today with more developments that we have had in a 5-hour period than we have in really the last 3 weeks combined.
More developments since, I would say, September 19th, when remains were found in Wyoming, and October 12th, when the medical examiner, I believe that was the day, told us that the cause of death for Gabby Petito was manual strangulation, throttling. Yep. So regardless of what ends up happening, we don't know why the medical examiner was called. Again, we don't know, one, if in fact human remains were found. We know that the Pasco County Human Remains Detection Dog was at the scene today, and we know that the Sarasota County Medical Examiner's office was called to the scene after that by Northport PD. So you can make any conclusions that you would like to there. We're not going to get ahead of law enforcement on any of that. But yeah, this day, October 20th, is definitely going to be significant regardless of what happens with the Sarasota County Medical Examiner being on that scene, because this is the day that some articles belonging to Brian Laundrie were found. We've been, the whole country has been looking for Brian Laundrie. Multiple law enforcement agencies, multiple states, multiple days, searching for this 23-year-old fugitive. And here we are. Today is the first time that there was a sign of him. If you're gonna, not from law enforcement, but according to the attorney, today is the first day that there was a sign of Brian Laundrie. The attorney saying some articles belonging to Brian were found at a trail after a brief search, a search that his parents initiated this morning and that law enforcement was a part of. So October 20th is another significant day in this investigation, JP.
Do you have a better vantage point from your seat where you're sitting? Do you see, is Walt in his office?
He is not.
Okay, there's a question that really only Walt can answer, and I'll try to see if maybe, again, Walt Buteau, one of our investigators here on the 8 on Your Side team, when he's back, the question that came in from Katie, and other questions like Katie's, I will answer that.
What is the question?
All right, I'll just throw it. I'll throw it up here on the screen. So there was a psychic that.
Oh, I know about this.
Okay, there was a psychic
That was on Monday.
Right, but then I ran into Walt yesterday as we were, and he actually said that no, technically it was Tuesday, but I can't ignore all of the comments that are coming through about the okay, and this goes back to some of our earliest streams on WFLA Now, and there was a
I just
a
want to
psychic who
check on everyone that's in
I have that
chat
email.
and make sure that
Walt
you're
had mentioned
okay.
on stream, and he
This can be
mentioned it,
very
that
triggering.
there was that
Please
28
take care of
days
yourself.
afterwards that
Self-care is the most
that Brian
important
Laundrie
care.
was going to
Okay,
be, and
guys,
I think
remember
that would have been either, depending on the time frame, that would have been either Monday night or into Tuesday morning. And so I just want to address it. I know that there's a lot of folks out there that are asking this question, and I just want to address it. So today is Wednesday, October 20th. And I believe that that original piece of information, that person came through and informed Walt that it would be late Monday or early Tuesday, based on that 24-hour window, and it would be near a body of water. Which actually interesting to me here. First of all, to say that in Florida, there's bodies of water all over the place. There's a town in Florida called Land O'Lakes. That's how many bodies of water that we have here in Florida. But just on that note here for 1 second, the water has receded so considerably here that I haven't seen much water in this one particular spot from Eagle 8 HD. We hope to get Eagle back in the air. The water has receded so significantly. The rainfall has been so less frequent across the month of October than we had in September, and that I'm sure has been advantageous for law enforcement officials searching this area.
Yeah, and I'm going to briefly address the psychic comment before completely moving past it.
Yeah,
but since people are bringing it up, Walt did tell me about this, and he said that the message was sent to him on September 21st. So he said that the discovery would have been made on the 18th or the 19th. So now's the 20th. So the psychic isn't even right, and we can just move on.
Yeah,
from that.
and that's
Yeah.
And we can move on to some of the questions and comments that are coming in. Okay, let's get to this one. Right on cue. Marianne Val, #HJB, #HeyMasa. It hasn't rained in a couple of weeks, and a lot of the water is gone. And that's, I mean, yeah. I mean, now, folks in Florida that know, that know, and they just know because they have a green thumb. You can even look here at some of the grass, and you can just see the coloration of the grass, and it's very clear here, even from me, and I don't have a green thumb, that here in Florida, it hasn't rained much in this area, just based on what we're seeing here from this particular vantage point. And it's true. We just haven't had that significant rainfall here in the month of October. And this is good. This is good for the search, because the more swampy and wet that it is, there's more vehicles here that are arriving here and checking in with law enforcement there.
And that is a protester. I recognize that man. That is the protester that has spoken with Cassie Laundrie. So the two people that you're seeing that are filming everything, these are two people that have been very closely following the case, basically on the scene nearly every day.
Volunteer member of law enforcement pulling up here to the scene as well. And yes, Marianne, you're right on the money. Hasn't rained in a while, and if it has, it's been virtually non-existent. It's just been really a passing shower. There hasn't been significant rainfall totals, and this aids the search for Brian Laundrie without question. CN, oh yeah, do you want to mention something about?
I just want to mention, the fact that law enforcement yesterday on October 19th determined that they were going to open the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park. The fact that they determined they were going to open this back up to the public, I mean,
guys,
that is huge,
like
because obviously they thought that they were done with that scene. They wanted to let everybody from the public back in. They would have access to that scene, to find out the very next day that all these developments are happening, that some articles of Brian were found at that exact scene. That's just interesting because I don't think, obviously, that we're going to open up this scene to the public as they did yesterday, had they known that articles belonging to Brian were still at that scene. And those articles being discovered this morning after a brief search by the Laundrie parents, according to the Laundrie family attorney, during a brief search.
Let's get to that next comment here. We'll keep this shot up because we're seeing considerable law enforcement activity here. So let's keep it up in the center of our screen live on WFLA Now. Again, 8 on your side investigator Masa Saidi, pulling a little bit of overtime here with us on WFLA Now. I'm JB Buno, digital anchor for WFLA Now, and we'll continue to feature interactively your comments here using hashtag HeyJB and hashtag Hey Masa. Hashtag Hey Masa, question for you. Cien Arens, was the park surveilled last night? I'm worried Laundrie may have claimed another victim to steal their vehicle. First and foremost, we have zero. We understand that might be a worry for you, Sam, but there is zero indication whatsoever that is even right, Masa. I mean,
I don't understand the question.
Well, why don't we focus on the question? The question is, was the park surveilled last night?
The park was opened back up to the public yesterday. Could they have done secret surveillance on it after opening it back up? I mean, sure. We don't have any knowledge of any surveillance being conducted at the Myakkahatchee Environmental Park, but I think what she's getting at is, oh, did somebody sneak back on and do something they shouldn't? I think that's what she is getting at, but we don't have any information on whether law enforcement set up secret surveillance outside of the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park. I would venture to say probably not, since they reopened the park back up to the public. I think it's safe to assume that they thought their work there was done because they were not treating it as a scene anymore that needs to be protected. They determined they were going to open it back up to the public, and they did yesterday, only to close it back up just hours later.
And to the second part of this comment, there's no indication right now. There's no evidence that we know of in an official capacity that Brian Laundrie has committed a violent act, and to suggest that he would then commit a second violent act. There's just so many people out there that I understand that you have your beliefs, but you have to also do your very best.
I see what she's saying now. I
yeah,
am so
we have
slow.
we have to encourage people to stay, as I say it, rooted in reality here. And we understand how easy it is with a story like this to connect dots, and connecting dots is an easy thing to do because sometimes it can feel so blatantly obvious. But we have to go on based on what we know from credible sources of information. Right now, Brian Laundrie is a person of interest in her homicide, hasn't been named as a suspect.
Yeah,
we
I'd
do
like
not
to say
have
in the case, not in the homicide. Yeah,
right.
Just a person of interest.
Just a person of interest.
Because they made that announcement when she was just a missing person. So he is just a person of interest in the Gabby Petito investigation, and he is wanted for bank card fraud. People get very upset every time I say that, but that is what the facts are. And again, we are not going to get ahead of law enforcement and make any other.
He is a person
claim.
of interest in an FBI-led criminal investigation.
You could say that.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
And we understand how easy it is to jump to various conclusions and jump to even conclusions beyond that are not rooted in reality. This
is the conclusion that is not even obvious, right?
And it's not to come down on the commenter in any which way, shape, or form. It's just it's an opportunity for us to remind you that you have to stay rooted in reality. Jacqueline Neely, hashtag HeyJB, possibility of the parents being involved with planting clothing or personal belongings of Brian. This is there's just too many comments like this one. We can't ignore this comment. There are people on social media that are wondering if there was any chance that the belongings, the articles that were discovered here weren't just discovered, that they were put there with nefarious intention. And there's no evidence to suggest that. And I know that there's going to be endless conspiracy theories online. Yes, the park was open yesterday. Yes, the park was open this morning. Yes, Chris and Roberta Laundrie were back here at the reserve. We know how easy it is to connect those dots, but it doesn't mean that you should. And we know that this question is out there. Is it is what's within the realm of possible. So much is within the realm of possible. But to Jacqueline, you're not the only one asking this question. I appreciate that the fact that you've asked it, but it's just not something that we can really address because there's just no information here that we can use to properly answer it.
I can say this. I can say that law enforcement, that Chris and Roberta Laundrie notified law enforcement they were going to go back out to the scene, and the FBI and Northport PD, they were with Chris and Roberta Laundrie as they did their, quote, brief search, and that's when the articles were found. That's all we can say. Those are the facts.
Facts of the case. Nicole Capozzo, hashtag HAB. Maybe Brian was injured and they found evidence of that. Is there a chance that there was something discovered that leads law enforcement to think that Brian was in that spot, injured?
We know Brian apparently was in this area. According to the text from the attorney, they found articles belonging to him. And that is, I would say, as of right now, that is the most significant thing about this date, October 20th.
We don't know the date of when these articles were discarded or dropped, or we don't. Is there the chance that those articles, as Stephen Bertolino puts it, were from a hiking trip well before July?
Sure could be, based on his text. It sure could be.
Yep.
That's a fact.
And now all of a sudden,
we don't know the time frame.
Could Brian Laundrie have been here in the spring, dropped something or dropped some things, because we know it's plural articles, and now with the water receding as much as it has, could these items have now been discovered? Sure, all within the realm of possible, but we just don't know. We are going by one statement released by one attorney,
a detailed statement,
detailed, but representing the Laundrie family, and so it's just not from law enforcement. And until we have information from law enforcement, we have to always preface this by saying that this information is coming from Stephen Bertolino. Tracy Cabrera, hashtag Hey Masa, wouldn't it be a waste of resources to send a medical examiner out for a maybe?
Oh, I just got a text from somebody. What was that? I'm sorry.
No,
wouldn't that be a waste of a resource? No, absolutely not. Listen, this is such
not with a story of this magnitude,
or of any. I think any criminal investigation, anytime that law enforcement feels the need to call the medical examiner to try to confirm whatever it is that they may have discovered, whether it be animal remains, whether it potentially be human remains, so much time. So many resources have gone into this investigation. So I think this is just people being so desperate to try to get more information. And, all we can tell you is that the medical examiner was called out by Northport PD. And we can also tell you that Pasco County had their human detection dog at this scene earlier today. And those are the only facts that we have. But no, it wouldn't be a waste of a resource to just send them out to check something out.
Thank you for your question, Tracy. Sharon Miola, hashtag KJB. Let's go back to the video of the tent. Has water receded where this tent is now? Water has receded everywhere across this, pretty much virtually the entire 25,000 acre reserve. The entirety of this area has seen considerably less rainfall than what we saw in September.
Much cooler temperatures now as well. We had our fall here in Florida.
Yep. And it's certainly, these are more optimal conditions to search when the water has receded, when it's not as blazingly hot. It's just easier. You can see that, law enforcement are here, and I can assure you that it is much more comfortable out there today than it was a month ago in September.
And you just made me think of something, JB, because one of the biggest questions that I had is, September 14th, Chris and Roberta looked at these trails that Brian loved. We know that nearly 2 weeks ago tomorrow, Chris Laundrie was back looking at the trails in this area that Brian loved and Brian frequented. So my biggest question has been, why did Chris and Roberta come out to the scene today after a quote, brief
You're
search make
exactly
this
right,
discovery now.
LFT.
And maybe it's what
Exactly.
JB just said.
Hi,
Maybe the
Rez.
water has
Hi,
receded. Maybe
everyone that's
this
came
is an
in. Thank
area
you
that
for being
was
here. Please
covered
hit
by
that
the
like
water before.
button.
We just don't know. But certainly that is one possible explanation into why are we just now, according to the Laundrie family attorney, finding, quote, articles belonging to Brian, when this is an area that has been searched over and over again from above, from below, by multiple law enforcement agencies. And maybe it is the weather, the water receding. Who knows?
Let's get to this question from Brooke. Brooke Vance, hashtag HJB, hashtag HMASA. Could Bryant's parents have put the stuff there that they found? Yeah, so we just addressed it in the previous comment. Let's get to Lisa White, hashtag HJB, hashtag HMASA. Could this area been underwater when they originally started the search? Yeah, I think that we're starting to see some similar thread and pattern of questions here.
Yep.
Jonathan Aker, hashtag AJB. Can you confirm if the laundries have been called back to the reserve as reported elsewhere? Masa, you want to?
Yeah, so actually I am. I don't want to give too much information because of my source, but there is, people outside the scene told me that Roberta has, come out dressed up. So she is still at the house, according to one source that I have at the scene right
Okay,
now.
so
she's at the house. Right
yeah,
now,
but
so,
but to the question here,
Mhm.
been called back to the reserve as reported elsewhere.
I don't know where that, I mean, Jonathan, if you could tell us, who is reporting that and who they are attributing it.
And we don't know if Jonathan's comment here was pertaining to when we originally said that they were back at the reserve as of
this morning.
As
They
of
were
this
back
morning, that was
yep.
them coming back.
Mhm.
So that's what this commenter might be referencing.
And they weren't called. And so this morning, they weren't called back out to the reserve. This morning, they went to the reserve and they had notified law enforcement last night that they wanted to go back to not the reserve, the Manicahatchee Creek Environmental Park. So I think what he was asking is, were they called there? And our clarification for you is, according to the Laundrie family attorney, they wanted to go back there. And that's when they made their discovery of the articles belonging to Brian. And then after that is when the medical examiner's office was called by Northport PD.
Checking in on just some, let's show you back here. No new vehicle activity. But again,
Okay, guys. Sorry about that. It does help to unmute yourself, okay? Oh, crap. Where did it go to? How did those parents go to the exact location where human remains were found after a brief search? How did they do that? Don't tell me they didn't know their son was in that particular area. How did they do that? Hi, Rez. Thank you for being here. I didn't catch you earlier. How did that happen? How? After multiple hours of man hours spent searching there. How did that happen? Oh, it's okay, Mo. I was in top chat earlier too. How did that happen? How? I just want to know how. I'm giving it a minute, guys, and I'm going to go back and play it some more. But WFLT has struck some channels for viewing them. So I'm trying to keep from getting my channel struck. Okay, guys? Please just understand that. But how did that happen? How? It is a big cluster, Amy. It is a big cluster. It's a huge cluster. Hello? Hi, guy. Sorry, guys. My son called to tell me he was off work. All right, y'all want to watch some more of it now? I'll go back live. I'll go back and show it now, okay? Is everybody ready? Okay. I'm gonna pull it back up now, okay, guys? But I've got it put I'm watching a chat from my phone, okay? If anybody has a question or anything, um make sure. Okay, has brown laundry been found? That's the one I want.
Just checking in to see with the same law enforcement that gave us that information.
This has been called out by Northport Police, and we saw, I don't know when at this point, but an hour ago, more than an hour ago, we saw this white tent being placed, and it's unclear as to why that tent has been placed, whether that's part of a command center or whether that has been placed to, because there's evidence was recovered nearby. But I just had a thought, JB. I think the fact that there was, didn't we see multiple tables? The fact that we saw tables and didn't
I think
see
it was at least one
there?
table.
Okay.
One table.
I feel like if this was evidence underneath that tent, that they wouldn't roll a table into it, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But again, significant developments. That's what we have seen. And October 20th is the day that, according to today, Laundrie family attorney, that articles belonging to Brian were found. And this is really the first sign we've had. I mean, it feels like Brian Laundrie just vanished, disappeared, according to his parents, on September 13th. And despite the fact that the entire country has been looking for him, there has been no sign of Brian Laundrie. And here today, just a few hours ago, I was able to confirm that articles belonging to Brian were found. So significant.
Significant to say the least. We are very much looking forward. This is looped video, clearly, but very much looking forward to having Eagle 8 HD back in the air. It will be around 2:30. It's about 50 minutes or so from now. If we have any updates, we'll, of course, if we can get Eagle 8 HD back up in the air sooner, we will absolutely do so. I know that there's a lot of folks out there that are looking for fresh aerials. Believe me, I'm looking for fresh aerials, wanting to see exactly what is going on right now on the ground with the amount of activity that is going on here. It's it's going to be fascinating to see where that Lee County Mobile Command Unit went, how close that is to this area, to the Mobile Command Unit for Northport, how close it is right to this tent. So but what we're going to do now here, everybody, what we're going to do over the next, Moss is working the phones, our entire team. I wish that everybody could see my vantage point here. We're all working the phones, calling everyone we know, trying to get information. We are equipped here to, of course, handle a story like this because we're in Florida. We're in Tampa Bay. This is the Tampa Bay coverage area. So we know who to contact.
This is our backyard.
We have the Rolodex ready to go. Yeah, it's literally our backyard. Mm-hmm. And we know a lot of the folks that are actively participating here as far as law enforcement. So we're working the phones, and anything that we can pass along to you here, we are going to. And Masa, you see her eyes looking down? Yeah, she's looking down because she's working the phones right now.
Well, I wanted to let our viewers know that Heather Monahan, she's our digital content producer, a real superstar. She's obviously also working this case for us right now. She has reached out to Josh Taylor, and she said that, acknowledged that we know that Northport is not the lead agency on this case, but she asked if he could provide any kind of comment on the activity at the site of the Bryan laundry search today. Obviously, she mentioned how Sarasota County, the Sarasota County medical examiner said they were called out by Northport PD to the scene. And so Heather is asking for additional information. We just want you to know that we are doing everything on our end to try to get you facts about what's happening here. But so far, all we heard from Northport PD was the search is on, and we'll let you know if there's a significant development. But it does feel like there has been, he didn't say significant development. The words that Josh Taylor from Northport PD had for Allison Henning, he said if there's anything of note, we're going to let everyone know at the same time. But I would argue, calling the medical examiner is something of note. And that is why we are once again reaching out to the Northport Police Department, trying to understand what more information they can tell us about why they called out the Sarasota County Medical Examiner's office a short time ago.
What I'd like to do now is feature some more comments. You can use hashtag HeyJB. You can use hashtag HeyMasa. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to feature more of your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyMasa questions and comments, and a lot of live streams would be going off right now, or we're going to stay with you, and it would be very normal for us in other circumstances to just end this stream and start a new one when Eagle 8 HD is back in the air. We're not going to do that. We're going to stay here with you live on WFLA now while we're waiting for new information to come in, while we're waiting on breaking developments, while we're waiting for Eagle to get back over Myakkahatchee. What we'll do is we'll feature some more of your questions and comments that are coming in now using hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyMasa. And if you were with us on our stream yesterday, you saw too that we are also taking video questions, putting a face to our audience, our audience watching really from around the world. And what we're going to do now is we're going to feature some of the video questions that have been coming in, how you submit a video question. Let me just put this out there. You send it to the WFLA JB Facebook page. I can then take them from there, make sure that they don't contain any inappropriate language or anything that is way out there in left field, make sure that they are good for stream. We can take them from there, and then we can feature them here on our interactive WFLA Now live stream. But let me just caution our viewers, these questions that we had preloaded into our stream for today were before all of these developments. So you're going to be seeing video questions come in from likely yesterday or early this morning. So we'll feature the first question. Let me see the first question in our queue as far as video questions go. And this one comes in from Whitney. Let's get to Whitney's video comment to the WFLA-JB Facebook page.
Hey JB, my name is Whitney Sitch, and I'm with the True Crime Sisters, and we have a Facebook group called Justice for Gabby Petito. My question today is, how do you respond to people who think that the case is already going cold?
So there you have it. I just, Masa, do you have your earpiece in? Were you able to hear that?
I did.
Okay, good. So I only chuckle because that's a perfect example of a question that would have been asked yesterday and not today, because this is anything but a cold case here today. But it goes to show, Masa, that Whitney and so many others, and she's part of a group online that focused on the Justice for Gabby Petito movement, that what a difference 24 hours make.
Right.
Yesterday, talking about this case going cold, here we are today with the medical examiner's office being called here, multiple mobile command units, the articles that have been found here,
To Brian, yeah.
according to Stephen Bertolino. What a difference 24 hours makes.
Yeah, I mean, we're used to, on this case, very fast, quick developments, and certainly a huge difference in 24 hours. Again, I go back to the fact that law enforcement determined that they were, by their actions, they signaled that they were done with the scene because they opened it back up to the public. And you know, JB, if you're searching a scene, if there is a crime scene, the first thing you do is you put up yellow tape and you make sure that the public doesn't have access to that scene. You don't want people messing with the scene. You don't want people touching potential evidence, altering potential evidence. But the fact that yesterday they officially opened this park back up after it was closed down for nearly a month, a lot of people, as you just heard, thought that the case had maybe gone cold. And now, according to the Laundrie family attorney, articles belonging to Brian were found at the exact place that law enforcement opened back up to the public yesterday. And obviously, you see the banner right there on your screen, medical examiner called to the Laundrie search area, something that we have not seen in this story that really started on September 11th when Gabby Petito was reported missing by her mother. Then on September 13th, just 2 days after that, Brian Laundrie left to go for a hike. He didn't come home. On September 14th, according to the Laundrie family attorney, the parents went to the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park to look for Brian Laundrie, didn't find him. September 15th, they went back and they retrieved the Mustang. They took the Mustang home. On September 17th, they reported to law enforcement that Brian Laundrie was missing. And up until then, Northport Police Department had told us that they knew where Brian Laundrie was, but that was huge. September 17th, September 19th, 2 days after that, all these dates that we've just all memorized, JB, by now. Remains found at Bridger Teton National Park out there in western Wyoming, not positively ID'd to be Gabby Petito, but I think the day of the autopsy, 2 days later, a Tuesday, positively ID'd to be Gabby Petito. Her death, the manner of death was determined to be a homicide. And I believe it was October 12th that Dr. Brent Blue, the coroner from Teton County, determined that she had been strangled to death, throttling, manual strangulation. And then yesterday, one search area opening back up to the public, a significant development. Many people, again, reaching out to JB, wondering if this case had gone cold. And today we find out that for the first time in this long, multi-state, multi-agency search, articles belonging to Brian were found. So just wait and see. At this point, JB, I'm going to be with you for another 15 minutes. And my understanding is that our other investigative reporter, Walt Bateau, is going to come join you. We're going to have team coverage for you on Channel 8 here in Tampa, Florida, WFLA TV. I'll be on with Allison Henning at 4, 5, and 6. We have our Nico Clemens on the story. And do you know if you want to mute that?
No, let me just. I'll share exactly what the announcement is to our newsroom. We are very well aware that there's another media outlet reporting that the coroner is at the scene. We're very well aware of the other reporting that is going on. We have not been able to independently ourselves confirm that. When we do, we will pass it along here to you. But to the comment section lighting up saying that this media outlet is reporting this information, I get it, totally get it. But we have to confirm it here ourselves. We have a thorough process. I was asked this question over the weekend as far as the process that we go through to confirm information, and we're going through that process right now. And until we can, report that information, we're just going to not do so. So it's something that's very much on our radar. We know what's happening out there, folks. I'm surrounded by 7 screens for good reason. And when we have that information to share, we will absolutely do so. Let's get to, how about Masa, would you like to get to the next video question?
Whatever you'd like.
Hey JB, hey Josh, my name's Casey, I'm from Boston. I've been following this case since day one. And I know it's relatively impossible for there to be a bunker underneath the house or the shed, considering it's Florida and everything, but I was just wondering, is there a chance they might inspect the possibility?
You want to go first?
Thank
you to Casey for that question. I very much appreciate it, because there was a lot of questions about the backyard and about the garden bed, and Chris and Roberta Laundrie being seen via drone video, paying a lot of attention to the garden bed there in the backyard. But Masa, if you'd like to go first.
I mean, all I will say is that we observed, I don't have the date in front of me, but September something, the FBI conducting a search of the Laundrie family home. They were going in, they were coming out, they were bringing out evidence from the house. So I would imagine they would have noticed if there was a doorway or, a bunker or anything like that. So my answer to that question is I would not believe that there was any such thing. But thank you so much for your question, Cassie.
All right, folks, getting in some new information. Folks, we are going to be back in 90 seconds. 90 seconds on WFLA Now with a breaking news update. Don't go anywhere.
Okay, guys, what do y'all think? What do y'all think about everything we've heard so far?
WFLA Now will begin momentarily.
Rez, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily.
Wow.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JB Buno.
Partial human remains found here in the search area for Brian Laundrie. A senior law enforcement official telling NBC News that what appears to be partial human remains have been found at the Carlton Reserve in an area that was previously underwater. The remains were found near a backpack consistent with items that Brian Laundrie may have used. Again, this breaking news report coming from NBC News. Hey folks, JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now, breaking this news here to a new audience joining us here. Everybody on WFLA Now, we've been live for now. Let's just have the number here right. The last 2 hours and about 15 minutes or so. But yet another significant development. It is news that that is going to be received by so many different people in so many different ways. But it's news that might get us a little bit closer to the answer on what happened to Brian Laundrie. Partial human remains found in the Laundrie search area. We are getting closer to Eagle 8 HD being back in the air and providing us with new images here, new live aerial video that we can bring you. But partial human remains have been found in the Laundrie search area. And Masa, the big thing here as well is that in addition to the partial human remains, this backpack that we're now getting information on, the remains were found near a backpack consistent with items that Brian Laundrie may have used.
Yeah, and this is according to reporting from Pete Williams from NBC. So a senior reporter, a very well-sourced reporter, and he has confirmed with a senior law enforcement official that the remains were found near a backpack, as JB just said, consistent with items that Brian Laundrie may have had. So we know from our reporting that Chris and Roberta Laundrie discovered, quote, articles belonging to Brian Laundrie. We weren't able to get any further information from Stephen Bertolino about what those articles may have been. But now we have Pete Williams from NBC talking with a senior law enforcement official and basically reporting that a backpack consistent with items that Brian Laundrie may have had. The backpack has been discovered, and now we are hearing again from NBC that partial human remains have been found in an area that was previously underwater. As you heard JB mentioned during our last hour, we have seen a lot of the water dry up in this area. So certainly that is something that is very helpful to the search. We know that the Pasco County Sheriff's Office did send out a canine able to detect human remains. We know that the Northport Police Department that was leading the investigation. Now this is an FBI-led investigation. We know the Northport Police Department did call in the medical examiner, and now Pete Williams from NBC reporting that partial human remains have been found next to a backpack consistent with items that Brian Laundrie may have had. This is happening on October 20th, more than a month after Brian Laundrie parked that Mustang, according to his family, and got out over the scene that you're looking at right now.
Now, that's exactly what I want to talk about here. Let's talk about exactly what we're looking at here video-wise from I'm sorry?
So the Laundrie's misspelled.
Yep, let's fix that. Thank you. So what we're looking at here in the Senate, this is looped video of a tent that went up. I guess it was this morning or this afternoon. It was right in the middle of our stream when Jim Hockett, our photojournalist in Eagle 8 HD, our news chopper, said, hey, in the last 5 minutes, they put up a tent. And that was significant, but we didn't know really how significant it was because could the tent have just been put up for we don't know exactly what the reason was at the time as far as the tent going up, but it was very curious. And the tent is up here. And this could be the focal point of this breaking news development that partial human remains have been found in the Laundrie search area and that it was near a backpack consistent with these articles, right? These articles that were said to have belonged to Brian Laundrie. I want to ask this question.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I just contacted Stephen Bertolino again, and I asked him about this reporting of Pete Williams that partial human remains have been found, and he said no comments. I'm going to stop texting him for the day. The Laundrie family attorney that is, usually often answers questions. He has stopped answering questions for the day. He has no comments. I will stop contacting him, but I just wanted to give you that update, JB. Sorry to interrupt.
Here's what I want to ask to our audience. And I'm going to start taking your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyMasa questions now, or really answers. Your hashtag HeyJB questions, your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyMasa answers to this question in particular. And I want to ask you, everyone, to you can use hashtag HJB, hashtag AMASA across Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Those three places, and we can animate your comment on screen. And it's this. Where does everybody feel right now as far as the Justice for Gabby movement? Let's not forget that this is a story that we have all been following because of Gabby Petito. And because so many people, including myself, just want to know what happened. What is the truth? What are the facts? Are we closer to getting facts? Are we closer to getting answers? Are we closer to getting the truth now, or are we farther with these new developments? I'd like to hear from our audience who have been interacting with over the last month plus, audience members who have been following every stream, some of you, every single stream that we have been on here. I'm asking you this question. Where are we right now as far as getting justice for Gabby Petito? I'd like to ask that, and we'll start to feature your hashtag AJB, hashtag AMASA questions and comments, or those answers coming in now. But Masa, do you want to chime in before we start to bring those in?
I think the fact that human remains have been found now in the search area, I think that is obviously a huge development. The fact that articles belonging to Brian Laundrie have been found, according to Stephen Bertolino, that is a huge development. Again, I will not be the one to get ahead and, say that Brian Laundrie, it seems like if we're getting closer to finding information out about a person of interest in this case. Okay, Brian Laundrie, what we can safely say is law enforcement believes that he has information. So the fact that there's all this development with, finding articles that belong to him, that we can place him at this location, that would certainly be one step closer to getting justice for Gabby Petito. But law enforcement has said nothing other than, Brian Laundrie is a person of interest in this case, that he's wanted for debit card fraud, for using Gabby Petito's debit card after she went missing, after he departed away from her between August 27th to August.
These comments are very interesting. I see them already starting to come in. We're going to start to feature some of them. Let's just preface this by saying that we do not know that Brian Laundrie had direct connection to Gabby Petito's death. We still don't know that answer. That's what I'm saying, folks. I want answers. You want answers. We want the truth. We want to know exactly what happened. And I don't know these new developments now. Masa, let me just kind of, we're going to animate these comments. I'm giving everybody another moment here because there's some people that type a little bit slower into their keyboards, or they're writing a very eloquent response, and maybe it's more of a paragraph, but I want to give everybody the opportunity to respond here. There are so many people overwhelmingly that have said to this point that they thought that Brian Laundrie was going to be found alive.
Right.
And we can't say definitively whether or not, with again, partial human remains found in the Laundrie search area. But there are just so many people out there that are probably just sitting back in their chairs. Because they were so certain that Brian was going to be found alive. And here we are, and now this news.
Okay, guys. I'm going to pause that for just a moment. Because it's still 30 minutes before Eagle 8 is in the air and gets to the scene. I thought maybe we could just talk for a little bit and talk out how we feel about this. Does anyone have anything they would like to say? LFT, I would like to know how the parents knew where. Excuse me, guys. I'm so sorry. I would like to know how the parents knew where to go look. Yes, guys, please remember Gabby's parents. Please. If these are his remains, her family is going to be devastated because they're not going to get answers. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Maybe what a lot of people are thinking, okay? If his parents just nonchalantly walked out there, oh, we're going to help look and within a short amount of time came up on items that belonged to Brian Laundrie, that tells me they knew where he was at in that park. That tells me most likely, in my opinion, personal opinion only, don't come from me. They probably knew where he was at in that park. How did they know where to go to? How? What? That's a 45,000-acre park. You're just going to walk out there, stay just a little bit, and just happen upon articles that belong to your child. Mm-mm. I don't buy it. They knew where he was at in that park. In my opinion, allegedly. And every other word that can keep them from coming after me to sue me. In my opinion, allegedly, hypothetically, and every other word that would protect me. I'm actually speechless, guys. I never thought that I would be speechless like this. I'm speechless. My husband would be shocked that I'm actually speechless for one time. But I am. I'm actually speechless. I agree, simply, Amy. They were very complicit. They were. I think, just my opinion, you come back and watch this later. Don't come for me. Do not come for me because it won't end well, okay? But in my opinion, his parents had a pretty good idea where he was at in that park. Just my opinion. Um, I think they knew where he was at in that park this entire time. And if that's the truth, those parents need to be in trouble. Well, crap. Guys, if they can prove that his parents knew where he was at this entire time, they're most likely in trouble. Turn this on mute for a second while I talk to my son. Okay, guys, sorry about that. I had to talk to my son for a second. I mean, what do y'all think? Let me go back over here and watch this. I want to make sure that we don't miss Eagle Eye. I'm trying to see, guys. Hold on just a second, guys. I'm trying to see where they're at on the live stream, okay? Just a second, guys. I'm checking it out. And of course my internet's got to be slow. Come on, internet. Come on. Okay. I'm thinking I'm going to go back live with it, guys. Yeah.
Think to make this mean something, if only domestic abuse awareness and awareness of other missing children, right? That's
Those
come out.
two.
That's
Yep,
come
that's
out.
what I was going to hone in on.
Yeah.
Really, the Gabby Petito Foundation is going to help the families of other missing people. And this is about the family has been saying that really, I mean, ever since like days after, or immediately after, it felt like immediately after Gabby's remains were found, that this was all about preventing future tragedy. What can we do to prevent future tragedies? The Gabby Petito Foundation, that is their core mission. And yes, they're going to be exploring some of the different conversations that need to be had publicly, widely around the world. But this this right now, this stings. This stings because I just know, and I'll tell you why it stings. It doesn't sting for me. I'm just thinking about all the people out there that that sent me so many countless messages that Brian Laundrie would be found, that he would be found alive, and that we would get exact answers, specific answers as to what happened in the pursuit of justice. And let me make this clear. Right now, we have what appears to be partial human remains found in the Laundrie search area. We have the backpack. Yes, we have the belongings, the articles that were found in the same area. Yes, we have all of that. And we don't know, we can't say right now that it is in fact Brian Laundrie until we have that information from a credible news source. However, I'm just thinking about all those people out there that are just at a loss for words and wanted a different outcome. And I want to ask those people, channel your efforts as much as you can into exactly what Walt is talking about, into having those conversations, the Gabby Petito Foundation, anything that we can do to help out missing or the families of missing people in America or around the world. I know that our parent company, Nexstar, they have News Nation. News Nation's Brian Enton is a colleague of ours. News Nation, of course, a new network channel. It's not left, it's not right, it's down the middle. We talk about News Nation here. But News Nation has launched a Missing in America series. It is a week. It's us taking exactly what you're talking about very seriously, as far as doing everything that we can to aid in the future the families of missing people, to help prevent future tragedies. So to everybody out there that is in likely disbelief over this news, or just still processing all this news, let's all keep that in perspective, and let's try to not forget what we're feeling right now, not forget these moments, because it could help us channel energy towards future solutions to prevent future tragedies. Let's get to some more of the questions and comments that are coming in. Rachel Elizabeth, #HJB. I think this is a step back. If he is found dead, there is no justice. We may never know. But Walt, to your point, there's likely more that the FBI knows that we haven't been privy to that information.
We will know more. I'm not
we will
sure.
We'll find out more.
I'm
But
sure
as
find out
that
more.
the
I-
FBI
is
knows
it-
a
is
lot
it-
more
I mean,
than we can
and let's
ever
make this
know
clear
right
too.
now.
I want to point out this harsh reality. If Brian Laundrie is found, or was to be found alive, there is no indication that we would ever learn the truth. How many situations of a high-profile nature has somebody been caught for an alleged crime, been convicted of said crime, and never, ever given the opposite family closure on what had transpired to their loved one? There's so many people that have been put behind bars that just refuse to give details, or refuse to give information, and do not want to concede information as to what they did to that particular victim. And so even if Brian Laundrie was found, even if he was discovered to be alive, it's no guarantee that we ever know the truth of what happened to Gabby Petito. He could invoke his constitutional right to remain silent, and he could take it to the grave. He could take it to his very last breath. And so we're not closer to justice.
And what is the justice for, then you'd start, if you dissect it, what is the justice? What would the justice have been? That he goes to jail, the death penalty? I have said this before. People bring up the word closure. I've talked to, sadly, far too many parents of victims, various types of victims. None of them have ever really used the word closure. We throw it out there. It's a cliche. I know we think that, but imagine losing your loved one. I don't know if there really is closure. Does it make it easier for the parents if they see Brian Laundrie in court? I guess it does. But at this point, the tragedy is horrifying in itself, and this development frustrating. I get it. It's frustrating. We will know more, but I don't know if we'll ever would have known enough because of how this trip started with smiles and a happy couple, and how it ended just the exact opposite of that. It's a stunner from day one, really.
A bit of breaking news. We talk all the time about how the FBI doesn't release updates. That's not their thing. Just not what they do. They're the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and they're not in the business of providing updates. They're in the business of announcing results in a particular investigation. And even then, sometimes those announcements can be very hollow as far as what we learn publicly. But the FBI just tweeted, and that's significant. Let me just before I tell you what they tweeted, the fact that the FBI is saying something in and of itself is a massive development, because the FBI hasn't said anything. The FBI tweeted, a response team is there for quote unquote items of interest at the Carlton Reserve. Items of interest, and that came in about 4.5 minutes ago.
The FBI has used Twitter a lot in this case. I believe they broke the story about the charges.
Yes, they
on
did.
Twitter, correct? Very interesting, and I think I was stunned earlier. I did a story involving the FBI last week, but it was the local FBI, and we'll get a response from them. But it's usually I cannot confirm nor deny. The Denver FBI their public information officers must have been inundated with questions, and they did respond to us earlier. They said they couldn't comment, but I would point out, they did point out that a lot of their releases at that point would be on Twitter. And there you go. Items of interest were located at the Carlton Reserve this morning in connection with the search for Brian Laundrie. We just retweeted it, but yeah, and they have it as a news alert from the FBI. So
our response team is there for the items of interest that we've been talking about. And I want to know how these items were discovered. There was talk on social media before you got on stream here, Walt. We had comments on screen, people who were alleging that this was planted, that the information came in.
More breaking news?
No, I'll address this here in a moment.
There's been so many of those. It opens your eyes to the skepticism that's out there. These theories that some of them I would have to say ridiculous. As far as the items being planted, what would be the motive? Did the person express a motive?
So the idea would be, and I know our commenters well enough to say that the idea was that the people were saying everywhere across all platforms. I have it here across my screens. Comments, people were saying that the items, the articles that Stephen Bertolino is referring to could have been planted by Chris and Roberta Laundrie to throw off law enforcement as far as the search for their son Brian. And now that we have these partial, or what appears to be partial, human remains found here, I don't see any comments like that anymore. That it was deliberate, that it was intentional, that it was an intended misdirection. I just don't see anything like that anymore. As we're awaiting some. Walt, I'm going to keep you on the mic here for a second. I have to step away for just a second.
Okay. So let me bring everybody up to date. This morning, the FBI reported that some items of interest were found in the.
Is everyone okay? I
butcher
just
this
want to check on
pronunciation.
everybody.
The
Type in the
Wayakahatchee
comments
Creek
if you need to
Environmental
talk,
Park. That is
okay?
right next to Carlton Reserve. I believe they're actually connected, so to speak, or adjacent to each other. We can tell you the size of that park is 160 acres, heavily wooded. So initially, the FBI is talking about finding a backpack with items that seem to be consistent with things that Brian would have. And then now we hear from NBC reporting that human remains were found near the backpack. Also, the family of Brian Laundrie was out there this morning, and the attorney in that case released a statement that I'm going to read to you here in 2 seconds. Stephen Bertolino writing, let me pull it up. Come on. Stephen Bertolino writing, it's not responding. Stephen Bertolino, though, detailed exactly what the parents were doing out there this morning. And then, of course, now in the early afternoon or late morning, really, I think we broke the story, at least locally, that it seemed like this activity had picked up to a great extent there in Wayakahatchee River, the River Creek area, which again, right next to Carlton Reserve. They touch each other. Carlton Reserve, 25,000 square acres, I believe, and this one is 100 or acres, I should say, and this one is 160 acres. So it's dwarfed by the other location, but they end up finding these human remains, we're hearing from NBC, in an area that was wet, not wet anymore.
The fact that the water receded could be the key development that Mother Nature provided what was necessary for this discovery. I think that it's not lost on any of us here in the newsroom. And I just had some conversations here for the first time in more than 2 hours, actually just leaving my chair and having some conversations. It's not lost on anybody that all the news reports that have been coming in and speaking to law enforcement officials and senior law enforcement sources, that they all talk about how this was an area that was underwater at one point.
Right.
The water receding, and it receding to a point where it is no longer you're like stepping in mud. There's
it's not
actual
an impediment anymore. They were right. I mean, and that's huge. And I guess we are we're getting out of our wet season right here in Florida.
We are.
Hasn't rained a lot lately. And yeah, Mother Nature playing a role. So one thing we will find out, the big thing is obviously that we need to know, and we will find out eventually from police, do they believe that these remains are Brian Laundrie's? Right now, we only know the proximity of the remains found near a backpack that had items that would that might have been Brian Laundrie's. The parents were out there to possibly identify those items, so we know that. But one thing we will find out after we find out who these remains are, we'll also find out a theory about how long the remains have been there. And that's going to be very interesting, right? Because time of death, they were able to nail down Gabby Petito's time of death, it seems, to what amounts to a 2 or 3 day period, sometime between the 27th, when she sent that, quote, odd text to her mother about Stan, and the 30th, when Brian Laundrie, according to the FBI, started using what we now know is Gabby Petito's debit card. So if they're able to do that, I think the same thing will happen here. We'll have some knowledge about a theory about when these remains perished.
We all want answers. We're about to get more answers, at least visually. Eagle 8 HD back in the air and heading to the scene. Folks, let me explain how this is going to work, because we do have to reset as far as our live stream here on WFLA Now. So let me explain how this is going to work. YouTube, we're not going anywhere. WFLA.com, we're not going anywhere. We're staying live. The WFLA app, if you're watching on the WFLA app, we're not going anywhere. To our Facebook audience, we are ending a stream here. We're ending the current live stream. We have to do that. There's reasons why we end in certain places, begin in others, and there's folks way smarter than myself that understand the purposes behind that. But it's always about engaging an audience and as many people as possible, so that as many people can find our streams. And we are going to be, in a moment, concluding our stream just for a period of time of a few minutes. We're going to be ending the stream on Facebook for Eagle 8 HD's arrival here at Myakkahatchee. We're going to have new crystal clear images to show you what is going on with all the mobile command units that have descended there on Myakkahatchee. What is going on with that tent, that area with the tent that has been erected and set up there, likely in the area where something was found. We're going to find out a whole lot more visually from Eagle 8 HD. But on Facebook here, folks, we have to reset. We're going to be stepping away for a portion of 10 minutes to our WFLA.com and WFLA app audience, 10 minutes. We're stepping away. To our YouTube audience, we'll be stepping away for just 10 minutes. The stream doesn't end on YouTube. It only ends, like the actual stream itself ends on Facebook. But we're back up on Facebook in 10 minutes time, roughly, with the update with Eagle 8 HD's arrival. So, folks, we're going to stay here with you from Eagle 8 HD. Walt and I are going to be stepping away. We're staying live on YouTube, on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, but we are going to be saying farewell to this Facebook audience to introduce you to a new Facebook live stream here within the next 10 minutes. Whatever Facebook page that you are watching on right now, for our Facebook audience specifically, will be live here with an additional stream here momentarily. But you can also always find us on the WFLA Facebook page or the WFLA JB Facebook page. We're live in those two places, and we'll be back here live in about 10 minutes time here on WFLA Now.
Guys, I'm just checking on everybody. Is everybody okay? It looks like we're about to get some aerial footage. Guys, I'm just checking on everybody. It should be starting in just a few minutes. Okay, guys, I think here we go. Here we go. Maybe not. Maybe not. Here we go. Come on, JB, start talking to us. Start talking to us, JB, before I get sleepy and fall asleep over here. Come on, talk to us.
Yeah, I got you, JB. Yeah, we'll do the best we can. There's only like one little hole between the trees to see it, so it's a matter of getting lined up just right.
Whoa. Bringing all of that in?
Gonna come up on it here in a second.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Streaming live on WFLA Now, powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY. Here's JB Buno.
Live from Eagle 8 HD, law enforcement officials searching for Brian Laundrie, finding what appears to be partial human remains here at the Carlton Reserve. According to NBC News, the remains found near a backpack consistent with items that Laundrie may have used, and they were found in an area that was previously searched and believed to be previously searched and believed to be previously underwater. Live here, everybody, from Eagle 8 HD on WFLA Now. We have, of course, 8 on your side, senior investigator Walt Buteau, JB Buno here with you live, again here with you on stream, and engaging a new digital audience here on Facebook. You can use hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyWalt. We can feature your comments and questions here in the Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter comment sections here, and now a second tent, Walt, appears to be constructed here or in the process of being constructed. But there's this tent, and there's another tent, a white tent, that law enforcement officials are paying a whole lot of attention to, an area that now, after, of course, NBC News sharing the news that partial human remains have been found, or what appears to be partial human remains, a lot of attention being combed, or at least a lot of attention being paid to in this area where these tents are being erected.
Yeah, very interesting that they would move this. The other tent is sort of in between two stands of trees. This tent moved to a different area. We do not know the perspective between the two locations, and this just happened. Literally, as we came on the air, this just happened. This blue tent that looks like it is sort of half in the ground, if you will, but obviously not flat ground out there. This is in this area next to Carlton Reserve. We believe 160-acre area, much smaller than Carlton Reserve, and that's where these remains were found, in an area that had been previously underwater, according to NBC News. And that is interesting. Nobody's there under it. And we very, very well may see what they're able to do or what they plan on doing in that particular area.
Jim, this is our photojournalist, Jim Hockhead here in Eagle 8 HD. Jim, it's JB. If there's a chance you could show us back to the white tent area. I know that it's really difficult to see. I know that it's really difficult to see through the trees there, but if we can, let's try to show where most of the law enforcement activity is. Okay, so there you see it. There you see it here, folks. The blue tent that was set up there in that open field, not too far away from the white tent, and now a second tent adjacent to the first one that has been set up. And really, these trees make it extremely difficult to see exactly what has been found, but it might be something that perhaps law enforcement wouldn't want us to see to begin with. Walt,
very common, and it could also be a work area. It's 85 degrees out there. They're in the middle of the woods. Definitely a painstaking process when remains are found. It's a very key evidence area, and now they seem to be yellow. Is that yellow? That is
police tape now going up, and it looks like they are establishing an area, a perimeter, to prevent anybody from coming. Not that the park is.
That's very interesting.
Very interesting, because the park is closed. They're not letting anybody in. But it just goes to show how much they are doing this textbook as far as ensuring that nobody steps into this area that could contaminate a scene that is now going to be quite literally microscopically dissected. We are hearing, of course, reports out there that are circulating that forensics teams are out there. I can assure you that, or I can pass along to our audience here that about 3 minutes before, not even, maybe a minute and a half to 3 minutes before we began this stream for our new Facebook Live audience, that there was another vehicle, another mobile command style vehicle that went into the Carlton Reserve. It was the biggest one we've seen yet.
It looks like they're using that tent as a way to cordon off the area, because they're wrapped around a tree there. They come around the tent. It does not look like they need the tent to cover anything. It is simply a way, almost like a fence post, so that they can protect a particular area. And if we're going to do some presuming here, we can think that they have remains in one area and perhaps want to make sure that if bones were carried off, they have a safe perimeter where they don't want anyone to walk. I don't think they're worried about the general public out there. I think they're worried about other officers. And now they can search that one area. I don't know how you calculate something like that. A forensic expert would be able to tell us that. How big of an area do you worry about bones being taken? This is horrible to talk about, but bones being taken after the person has died. How big of an area do you need to cordon off in order to find other remains?
Very clear now to us the intention of the blue tent. Obviously, I think it goes without saying, but I will say it to our audience: the blue tent only set up there for the intention as being a wait for the tape,
Yeah.
a tent,
A post.
a post, if you will. Thank you. That has been set up. So they have cordoned off this area. But again, it's somewhat of a moot point because we're talking about an area that is closed off to the public. But
I think they're worried about officers.
I think that's exactly what I was going to say next. There's so many different agencies involved. Let's just kind of backtrack. We've heard about Pasco County being involved. Of course, Sarasota County, Northport Police, the FBI, Lee County has been called into the scene here. You can see there, it's hard to see Jim trying to give us a good vantage point through the trees. That's another police tent that's been erected. So there's so many different teams on the ground now that this is just to ensure that anybody that approaches the scene, whether it's a detective, whether it's a federal agent, whomever it might be, a forensic examiner or a medical examiner or the coroner and him or herself, that they do not step in an area that they shouldn't be stepping in. And again, look at how wide of an area they have partitioned off here, Walt. It's pretty interesting.
Well, I think Jim might be able to give us a better idea from the sky of how large of an area that is. I think it looks probably smaller than it really is to us. A wider shot probably shows us how large of an area it is, but it is definitely a pretty extensive area. As he pulls out there, you can see the white tent, and it would seem the logic would be that they're going to circle that area. Very good shot there by Jim Hockett in the sky with Eagle 8.
And that's the area that we can say with confidence has received the most attention from law enforcement, the most attention from officials on scene. And it just so happens to be in a very wooded area. And we don't know at this time that is where the partial human remains were found. We don't know if that's an area where the belongings, the backpack belongings that the NBC News report mentioned, whether that's that area or this could be several different areas that we're talking about here, but we know that by far the most activity is being paid here to this one area that is shrouded by this tree line.
And right, and a really good point. We've seen officers under the white tent, so we do not know, is that where the remains are, or is that where they're processing the remains? We could make a guess, but obviously we don't know. We do know, though, the area that the remains were found. We're told the area where the remains were found had been wet and had since dried out. Dry weather, as you pointed out, JB, very much helped reveal these human remains, and we don't know how long that particular body has been dead, and we don't know exactly who the body is, but we do know it was found near a backpack that has been identified as something that would be consistent with something Brian Laundrie would have had.
There have been questions for weeks now. Who was going to be the person to provide the information or provide assistance, provide the break that this case needed to find Brian Laundrie? We've been talking about hikers on the Appalachian Trail. We were talking about trail cam video in Alabama and trail cam video
here
or sightings locally.
Yeah, Carlton
here.
Reserve.
There were people in Canada saying that looks like Brian. There were people in Mexico saying this looked like Brian. And all along, what's incredible to me, Walt, is that all along, the one who was able to provide perhaps the biggest break in this case is Mother Nature, just by allowing these waters to recede to a level that these new items have been discovered, and now we have the report that partial human remains have been discovered. But Mother Nature not dumping water here over the course of October. And yes, there's been precipitation, but not anywhere close to what we saw in September.
No.
October has been in large part a very dry month here in the Tampa Bay area, very large in part a dry month for Sarasota County, and Mother Nature not dumping all of this water, allowing all of that swampy wetland water to recede. Now we have these developments here today.
And that is the key. And I think a lot of other people had insisted to me personally, privately, hits on Twitter, on Facebook, insisted there was no, and again, maybe they're still right, but insisted there was no way Brian Laundrie was still in there, insisted that somebody helped him get out of the country. And again, let's point this out. Let's be very clear that we do not know if this is Brian Laundrie. We do not know this is Brian Laundrie.
And let me also remind everybody that early on in this process, this is an inconvenient truth, but it's a truth nonetheless, that early on in this process, there was a body found at the Carlton Reserve.
Right.
And they quickly determined that it wasn't Brian Laundrie.
That's right.
Now, listen, we have partial human remains here. We have at least 5, perhaps 6 or more law enforcement agencies descending here upon the scene. There's a backpack involved. There, and the articles that Stephen Bertolino first confirmed and then would later get confirmed and tweeted out by the FBI. These are all developments that point to this being something directly connected with Brian Laundrie's whereabouts. But we cannot rush to that conclusion until we have it, of course, from the FBI or from local law enforcement or from somebody here at the scene. But for what it's worth, folks, what appears to be partial human remains have been found in the Laundrie search area, in an area that was believed to be previously underwater, and an area near a backpack with items that, yes, according to the reports, belonged to Brian Laundrie. This all coming, Walt, after Chris and Roberta Laundrie were said to be there this morning searching the Carlton Reserve.
And just, it's worth repeating, the update from the FBI came 42 minutes ago on Twitter. Items of interest, these are the exact words of the FBI. Items of interest were located at the Carlton Reserve this morning in connection with the search for Brian Laundrie. An FBI evidence response team is processing the scene. That's what we're seeing live there, thanks to Eagle 8 and Jim Hockett, our photographer, investigative photographer. And the reserve is closed to the public and no further details are available at this time. And then we know from NBC, or we hear from NBC that, again, human remains are involved. Let's be clear about that. The FBI has not acknowledged anything, I don't believe, about human remains, just that items of interest were located at the Carlton Reserve.
Let's also break down a word that's on our screen here that we can't ignore because it's curious and it's worth a conversation. And speaking of conversation, we're going to feature your hashtag Hey Walt, as we do hashtag Hey JB, questions and comments here on screen in a bit. But the word I want to focus in on is Eagle 8 HD is live right now at the time now, 2:53 Eastern, live right now over Myakkahatchee, over this area. But the word I want to focus in on is partial.
Right.
Partial
Important.
Human remains.
That's right.
What does that mean? So let's break down what that could mean, because it's really important. Because if human remains were found, I think this is a different or somewhat different conversation. The fact that it was partial human remains. Okay. And let's also not let it fall too far away from our conscience that this is the second time that we have had human remains found in this story. Of course, Gabby Petito's remains were found in Wyoming. The process that had to follow after that to confirm that the remains did in fact belong to Gabby Petito, and the family being notified. Now, heartbreaking of a day that was. But here we have partial human remains that have been discovered. And Walt, that could mean a variety of different things. That's so open-ended and vague, but perhaps we can have a little bit of a conversation here as to what the reason is for partial. Yes, we understand that it's clear that it's not, that the human remains are not entirely intact, but why aren't they entirely intact? We have been talking here at great length on WFLA Now about, this is an area known for gators, known for coyotes, known for panthers, known for snakes. And if this is the discovery of a body, as grim and as gruesome as it is to have this conversation, if this is the discovery of a body that has been there for an extended period of time, Florida wildlife has gotten to that body.
No doubt about that.
But if the body was underwater, well, then it rules out what kind of wildlife perhaps would have been able to have gotten to these remains. And that's one scenario that is plausible as far as why it's partial human remains and not entire full human remains. And
not to get too gruesome, but obviously the partial is important because the part of the body would lead to a quicker identification. Although,
that's entirely true.
Although obvious, if there's a wallet out there, if there are clothes out there, if the backpack somehow holds a hint, we knew the manner of death was released right away. With Gabby Petito, they found the body on a Sunday, and that news conference was held on a Sunday. on, I believe, the 19th in Wyoming, and they knew right away the manner of death was a homicide. The cause of death was then released just last week. So in this similar, if it's a similar timeline, they could know a manner of death, or at least know who this is relatively quickly, and perhaps they already do. I mean, the response has been interesting. JB brings up the point that in the beginning of this case, there was some other remains found out there. They determined pretty quickly, it seemed like within hours, that they were not Brian Laundrie. In this case, these human remains prompted a lot of activity there, including Laundrie's parents coming out there, including an FBI release, one of the few FBI releases we've had in this case about what was found out there. They didn't say remains. Let's be clear. The FBI did not mention remains, but they mentioned items of interest. And it's only the second time, really, or third time we've seen anything from the FBI as far as a news release in this case. So that does tell us something about what is suspected at this point of exactly who that is.
Let's go split screen for a moment, but before we do, we can't ignore what we're watching here. It appears a law enforcement crew on a John Deere style of vehicle has been navigating through the reserve or through Myakkahatchee, through the park itself, and now they have disappeared into the trees here. That area on your screen, underneath those trees, that is where all of the attention is being paid, and it's an area I can't help but wonder, Walt, what this would have been like if these remains were discovered on our screen a couple inches to the left, or a couple football fields. If it was in that open field there,
sure.
Then we have news choppers, drones, I would imagine, everything going up over the area. I wonder if then the FBI would have requested a TFR, if they would have requested to get, aerial vehicles, news vehicles out of the air.
And to be clear, we don't know that for all we know, the white tent, that's the blue tent. That's the blue tent. That's just a weight. The blue tent is just a fence post, if you will.
Yep.
There's no tree there. They wanted to cordon off an area around the white tent. We do not know what they're doing under the white tent. We don't know if that's where the remains are, or that's where they're analyzing the evidence that they found. So, and again, it is a thick stand of trees. And in that way, I guess it is lucky for the FBI, because they, obviously we would not want to show human remains live on TV or taped on TV either, or recorded on TV. So
the tape is interesting because they've partitioned off this area and we don't know why. No. But it just could be to establish a large enough perimeter to be even to double check that they have the perimeter established to not contaminate the scene.
I think, it's safe to say is that it's all about disturbing what is still, I guess this is still a crime scene of sorts. He is the suspect in a fraud case, in a credit card fraud case, and he is a person of interest in a homicide. So this is still a crime scene, and the investigators, even though, as we've said, as many have said, there's no justice for Gabby Petito here, if that is Brian Laundrie, there still is an open case that will be closed. And at some point, some of that information will be public and we'll know more. But this is still a crime scene, so it makes sense. You would cordon it off, and maybe even to keep officers away, and to be able to watch a particular area to make sure nothing or no one goes in that area. Because at this point, you don't want animals in there either, just in case there are remains scattered in that area.
Let's go split screen. And before we go split screen, let's just go full screen so that you guys can see the entranceway to Myakkahatchee. There you can see just members of the public who they can't walk in. They're going to be stopped by law enforcement if they try to walk into Myakkahatchee. But this story has attracted people from all over, from folks all over the country, and they have descended here on Sarasota County. They've descended here on Northport, Florida, the Northport area. And they are, some of them are local people. Some of them have come from far and wide. But this is, and if the camera pans over to the left, you'll see just every media outlet under the sun, literally under the sun, on a hot Florida day. And all of their cameras are pointed in the direction of Myakkahatchee Riverfront, or excuse me, Myakkahatchee Environment Park. And We have the, of course, the chopper in the air. Oh, there's some that's a better angle that Jim just got. Okay, so there's some of the vehicles that are there in the area underneath the trees. That's a good shot, and just some of the law enforcement officials that are now working this scene. Again, the medical examiner's office has been called. Multiple law enforcement agencies here in Florida have been called to the scene. Let's not forget that the Pasco County Canine Human Detections Unit is also here on the scene. And if there are partial human remains, that means that there's the chance that there are, of course, human remains out there somewhere, and having the canines present to try and track down that scent, that's particularly advantageous. We were talking about wildlife earlier. We were talking about the chances that the remains were the target of Florida wildlife, but we don't know. We don't know. All we can go by is what we're seeing here in the area that has been taped off by law enforcement. And again, this is an FBI-led investigation, Walt.
It is, and reflecting again on what the FBI tweeted now about an hour ago, there were items of interest in the Brian Laundrie case. Brian Laundrie's parents out there earlier today, and now the speculation about why they were there. There's a lot of speculation this morning, and then of course we find out reports again from NBC indicate that human remains were found out there. And again, it's important to point out that the FBI has not said anything about this case for quite a while. So that, again, it's speculation, but it leads you to believe this is not just any sort of find. And there is a backpack down there somewhere, a backpack that we're told had things that would be consistent with what Brian Laundrie might have. And right below that stand of trees is where the white tent is and the activity is. And JB pointed out again, if the trees aren't there, think about it's a much clearer view, and the law enforcement might not want that at this point, because we do not know exactly what was found. Just the report is human remains and a backpack with items that are that are consistent with what Brian Laundrie might have. So, and perhaps, I mean, JB, it makes sense that is why the parents would have gone out there this morning.
The parents being there, the developments that occurred today, these are, again, these significant developments that so many people have been waiting for, but I don't know if it's the exact development that a majority of the public was hoping that they would actually learn to be true. And what I mean is that there were so many people, Walt, so many people that thought that the most direct avenue, the most direct.
Okay, guys. Okay, guys, hold on just a moment. All right. We've listened to that for a good amount of time, okay? Uh, Chat, let's keep it respectful, okay? Everybody's emotions are on edge right now. We don't know for sure if that is Brian Laundrie. We have no idea. None. We have no idea if that's Brian Laundrie. Is there a high possibility it's Brian Laundrie? Yes. But we do not know that it's Brian Laundrie. Does anyone have anything they want to talk about before we kind of wrap this one up? Yes. Please do not make any kind of comments in chat to say that it is like you're confirming that he's dead or something, because we do not know that. I do not want things like that in chat. Guys, I think I'm going to wrap this one up for right now. let me give you the website if you want to go and finish and watch some more of it on your own. Uh, right here. Okay, guys, I'm gonna put the website down here. Right there. That's the website that I was watching, okay? But I'll wrap this one up, kind of give everybody a time to gather their thoughts and compose themselves and everything. And you're welcome, crazy mama. I'm going to take care of a couple of things here in the house. I will be watching the news. If they come back with any confirmation, I will let you know. Also, I'm going to be on with the Cypher podcast at some point this afternoon, early evening, to discuss this. So I will put it on the community tab when we have a time so that everyone knows. If you're interested, you can come over there and watch us, okay? Thank you all so much for being here, and I will see you guys soon. Bye, everybody.